What is it that people hate about Israel? You see it across the world. You see it in the media. You see it on college campuses. What is it exactly? What at its core is it about Israel that people don't like? Check out this clip with Ben Shapiro and Bill Maher having conversation on this. We'll watch it and then we'll talk about it afterwards. But before we watch this clip, hit that subscribe button over there in the corner. We'd love to stay in touch. Check this out.
Because Israel is successful. That is why, everyone keeps wondering, what is and you mentioned it, this sort of queers for Palestine stuff, which is chickens for KFC, right? What is that? And the answer is people who believe that they have been marginalized by society and therefore society has to pay the price for that. And so what you get is a bunch of really spoiled, rich Western kids who believe that they are somehow victims of the society around them because they have not made success of themselves or wish not to. And so they are in alliance with people who also have actually run an entire area of the world, not only into the ground, but into the worst situation in modern history. And it must be that none of those people made bad decisions. It must be that they were victimized, that society victimized them. And so tear down the system, eat the rich, destroy private property, wreck any developing country that actually wishes to develop. That's the part that's dangerous. And I don't think that has to be a right-left divide, because I think that, frankly, if you're on the left, you should. If you're a liberal, I always make the distinction left and liberal because I don't think it's quite the same thing. But if you're a liberal, you should believe that human beings have the capacity for success. If you make good decisions, then you benefit from those good decisions. And maybe we have disagreements over redistributive mechanisms, which is why I can have a normal conversation. But if you believe that every evidence of success, group or individual, is actual evidence of exploitation by that group, that's how you end up with anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. And by the way, also anti-Asian conspiracy theories. It's how you end up with, don't let the Asian kids into Harvard because they're too successful.
And, for the folks who are listening to this and say, oh, you're always picking on the fringe. That's not the fringe. I mean, I wouldn't say it's the majority of the left, but it's the places that have been ideologically captured. It's the New York Times, it's Harvard, it's the ACLU, and that is where left-leaning thought comes through. So these kind of ideas, which I agree with you, are crazy. And this is, again, what I mean by aggressively anti-common sense. It's really uncommonsensical, and they're aggressive about it, almost like you have to like it. You have to like penises in the women's shelters. It's not just that.
But you do, because I think that the threat level perception is actually correct from their perspective, because their entire definition of what you are is what you feel on the inside. And so if there's any imposition on what I feel, even if it's at war with objective reality. So if I'm a failure, and I don't feel like I'm a failure because I've made bad decisions, it's because society was mean to me. If I say to you, well, maybe the reason you're failing is because you made a bunch of dumb decisions, then I've actually threatened your identity. I'm a threat to you at that point. And that's a danger. So I do have to agree with them, because otherwise I'm basically saying it's your own fault. And that's something people can't abide. People cannot abide the idea that failure is their own fault. And guess what? In a mostly free society, in a mostly free country, that's the most prosperous place in human history, a lot of failure, not all failure, an enormous amount of failure is luck, an enormous amount of failure is bad health, but an enormous amount of failure is, in fact, people making bad decisions. That gets back to my boring life. Again, make better decisions. And if you make all the right decisions and then you fail, then maybe you can blame external factors.
This sounds to me what you probably tell your kids.
100% is what I tell my kids.
This is your big theme with your kids.
This is my theme. This is my theme. By the way, this is also the theme of every successful company.
And how are the kids taking to this theme?
They like it, because it turns out, what kids actually like? You mentioned before that they're actually bad people. Kids, they like duty and responsibility, and they like no. Kids actually like those things. If you do not provide structure for kids, it is the worst mistake you can make.
Discipline is love. It's not on the surface, it's below the surface, but it translates to love. It really does.
Especially it's the hardest thing for a parent.
Because kids know
disciplining your kids is a pain in the ass.
Kids know on a certain level when they're being an asshole. And so when the parent straightens them out, they're like, okay. It may not be conscious, but the unconscious matters too, and it gets in there. And I think the root of all the problems from the.
This is the way that many look at the world. That if you're a successful person or a successful nation, you've done that through oppression. You've been an oppressor, And if you are not successful, and you are either a person or a nation, you did it because you were oppressed. That's the only factor. It's not decisions that you've made. It's not the lifestyle you live. Nothing, any sort of personal responsibility is completely avoided in the discussion. Success equals oppressor. Non-success equals you were oppressed. This is clearly a false way of looking at the world. Basically, everyone in a free society does have access with good decision making to be a success for themselves, but it comes with making good life decisions, good health decisions, being aware and making the right decisions. That's really all it boils down to in a free society. And that's certainly something that we need to pay more attention to. You want to be a successful person, make better decisions. We are the consequences of the decisions that we make, period. That's who we are. If you like this content overall, hit that subscribe button over there in the corner. Love to stay in touch. Take care.